Aiden and his wife Mandy recently married and were happy in that newlywed glow. Aiden was the owner of his own small charter flight company handed down to him by his father after his death. Mandy helped manage the business end of the company while he did the flying. Most of his flights were to take people out over the Alaskan wilderness. The money was good and more than enough to pay for the bills. They lived in a custom-made cabin that was next to the landing strip. Aiden's wedding was a few days ago, and he was glad it was over. In the days building up to the wedding, he was nervous about the spectacle to come. He could fly a plane through almost anything, but the thought of standing in front of everyone he knew made him lightheaded and sick. Luckily, he had Mandy to calm him, and the thought of being tied to her gave him the strength he needed. His friends took him out for a tame stag party, just some beer and bar games in town, while Mandy had her hen party watching movies and shopping for honeymoon outfits with her friends. He managed to survive the wedding, and the party that followed was fun and full of love. Mandy surprised him by having a model of his plane put on the cake behind the tiny kissing couple on top. They danced and ate with their friends, laughing at the stories being told by their guests and holding back tears from heartfelt toasts. It was perfect. At midnight, they decided to make their exit, and they spent their first night as husband and wife in their cozy cabin. The next few days were spent preparing for their honeymoon tour across the Alaskan wilderness, flying to remote outposts, camping, and taking pictures of the wildlife. When the day came to take off, they did a final check to make sure they had everything they needed. Mandy stayed at the cabin to make a quick picnic breakfast and lunch for later, while Aiden went to the landing strip storage room to stock up his SOS bag. When he opened the storage door, the room was filled up with dust, and his extra parts and tools were strewn about. Bears frequent the area, but as long as there is no food, they usually won't waste their time, so why a bear went into his storage room was a mystery to him. As Aiden was rearranging his shelves, he heard a loud scream from outside. Rushing outside, he could hear the screaming growing more distant down the hill by the cabin. He ran to the hill, trying to find his wife by her screaming. He could see something going down the hill, large, brown, and running on two legs, and he could see Mandy's denim-clad legs poking out from under its arm. Aiden ran back to the cabin and grabbed his hunting rifle, and pursued the kidnapper on foot, down the hill and towards the direction of her rapidly fading screams. He tracked the large footprints through the woods for several miles, but he couldn't hear her screams anymore. In the grass, he saw a torn piece of yellow plaid cloth, her shirt. Aiden made the heartbreaking decision to turn back and call for help from the cabin, then fly his plane out looking for her. He grew up in Alaska, so he knew this was the hairy man, a Sasquatch. He also knew he couldn't tell the state troopers that something running on two legs kidnapped his wife. They would never believe him. His only choice was to lie and say it was a bear. He made the call and gave them the location of his landing strip, then he took his own plane out, looking for any sign of her among the sea of trees, hoping to see her yellow shirt glaring out among the dark green foliage. After hours of fruitless searching, he returned to his landing strip to wait for a state trooper to arrive. There was a small team of locals waiting for him there. The troopers had started to coordinate a search and rescue team, so he told them what happened, and they went out in the direction he indicated. As the locals saw the tracks they were following, they gave Aiden a sad, knowing look. No words needed to be said. They understood the reality of what had happened to Mandy. For 3 days the search went on, but no other trace of her was found. The footprints reached a small river and disappeared. Miles of searching the shores for where the hairy man exited proved fruitless. Aiden slowly began to accept and mourn for his wife. There are stories of people being kidnapped by the hairy man, but none of them ended with the person being returned. The police report says that Mandy was attacked by a bear and her body was never recovered. Aiden and the locals know the real story, though. To this day, he still looks for her with every outbound flight. The more remote the destination, the better. If the hairy man had wanted to kill her, he would have done it by the cabin. He wanted her alive for some reason, and that gives Aiden hope that he may find Mandy someday. Thanks for listening to the Squatch Zone, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a story.